Good morning, traders. Welcome to the Tuesday Outlook and Setups. I am DW Trader or Devet, and today I'm going to be looking at primarily GU, but we'll have a look at some of the other pairs as well. I'm just going to quickly review the morning analysis I did yesterday for the community as well, which will just give you an indication of what we looked at. So yesterday, price ended over there. We had a slight pullback. We created a wick. My expectation was for price to reach these lows as we did handsomely push towards the downside. The reason also being is if you look at the weekly, price is in a downtrend and price could potentially be creating a new lower low. So you can see we're creating lower lows, lower highs. So the idea was to see price push down, break this low, and then create a new lower low if we are bearish. But now the thing that we also need to note is that there's also sell stops below these lows, so probably price could react off of these lows and liquidity resting below these lows. So that's something to take note of as well. So on the daily, we mark out where our liquidity is. So this is a previous daily low. It's not the previous daily low, but it's a previous daily low created all the way in December. So it's a high probability area the price could reach for that area and grab the liquidity found in there. So now looking at today, let's first of all look at yesterday. I'm just going to use the bar replay. Just going to show you how the day started. So ultimately, the price was in this area, and you can see there's not a lot of options where price could go to, and it was really obvious the price could make this push towards the downside to reach for this sell side liquidity. And the reason being is that the liquidity towards the upside is all the way up here. For price to then reverse and go up, because maybe this is an order block or something, but we just broke out of it. So for price to return back into that area right now would take a lot more, let's call it a lot more momentum than price just going towards the downside target, because it's already in this bearish sequence. We have this bearish move towards the downside. So if we pay attention to what's happening in here, we can see that the most clear area is down here for a liquidity target, or for price to reach for that area. So it's very plain and simple. I'm anticipating that move. And then on the lower time frames, that's where it got really good and interesting, as we had this quick sweep of an intraday high over there. So the London session pushed price, swept this low, and then we had a push towards the downside. Then on the 15-minute, we made this new higher low, new lower high over here, filling the imbalance over there, rebalancing price, and then the further continuation towards the downside until now, where we see price just really moving sideways. And that's usually true to when a day is really bearish like this. The following day, price could be stalling a bit, creating some indecision candles or confusion, moving sideways, and then ultimately move in the direction that it wants to be moving. So for us now, we obviously every day I start off by looking at liquidity on the daily, and I've marked out the imbalance in this area where price can go to rebalance itself, and then further to the left, I'm not really keen on looking or saying this is an area or this is an area, because it's very confusing. You have some equal lows or slight sweep, but equal lows over there, and then a structure break over here. So you could say, okay, well, this down candle is the last down candle before the up movement, so that is then the order block. But that's not really how we should look at things. So, but you can drag that out and say, okay, well, price is going to still continue bearish. But I prefer just looking at where we are right now and just looking at price action and see, okay, well, we have momentum. We could potentially just be dropping further towards the downside. This could be the wick now that's created for the daily candle, and then we can see a further expansion towards the downside. So we need to look at a few things on the lower time frames to then trade what we see and not what we think. So I'm not just dropping to the 1 hour. So we know this is the imbalance area that we saw on the daily. It's the one up here, but we're going to make it a bit smaller. So that is that imbalancing area, and the reason for price to go up there would be to rebalance fair pricing. So what do we see right here? So this is just the mark for the day opening, the new candle opening. So if we just take a line and we draw that across, we can see that the day open, we made a wick towards the upside, and potentially we can see a trade-off towards the downside. We did sweep some intraday liquidity highs to the left within Asian session, and potentially that could be the catalyst for price to move down lower. But what we can also just note is that we have these highs right here now. If price were to make another run on liquidity towards the upside, we could see that. But we also have yesterday's lows. I'm not sure if we did actually sweep them. So we can see the price just kind of traded to that price level. We haven't yet went below yesterday's lows as of yet. So we can still see price move down lower and then up again, or just continue down lower. We can see now this 1 hour candle is really starting to push towards the downside. I'm just going to make this dash lines and make it really light. So I just want to know where the daily open is, and then just have a looking at the 50-minute. So how I would mark this out now, this is my buy side liquidity and this is the sell side liquidity. So what this means is the price could be drawn to either one of these areas. What we can also anticipate is for price to create a pullback, create a new lower high, and then a further continuation towards the downside. Primarily just because this high, well, actually it's relatively perfect equal highs to the left. So we could anticipate price to sweep above as well. So that is still on the table as well for price to go above, grab the liquidity, and then go lower. But ultimately, this is kind of the idea that I would have wanted to go with. I'm not seeing any key areas for me personally yet to trade off of. So I still need to just pay attention to what is unfolding and just be careful before we make any quick decisions. But we can see price accumulating in this area. Then we see this push towards the downside. And this is actually right after the session close for the Asian session. So you'll see the Asian session closing. If we just turn this on, you can see the start is over there, and then we have this push up consolidating, and then this drop down. So that's where the session ended. And then we have this drop towards the downside, which makes it really a bit uncomfortable to trade. It's not really then looking like a very good trading day for London session, because we have this volatility in Asia session. Usually you would want to see this volatility only stepping in around the session openings, Frankfurt and London, to then base a trade off of. So currently I'm not seeing any tradable ideas. Obviously you could mark these areas supply, because we all know the smart money teaches everyone is that the last up candle before the down move, that's where your order block is, or supply and demand, or whatever you want to call it. I'm looking at things a little bit differently, but ultimately we could expect price to come up to this area. But I would be hesitant to take a sell in here, just primarily because we have these equal highs up here. So I do think we might first go above them and then down lower. The alternative is, if price is now inclined to go lower and grab the liquidity on the sell side, then the expectation would be, if we get a reversal, is to see price go lower and then create a reversal pattern and then take it and target the upside. So this would be the right idea if we get all the ingredients. I'm not just going to buy down here. There's things that needs to happen. But this is the right idea for the longs if we get confirmation, and then the short ideas if we get same confirmation as well. So those are the two scenarios. But then we could also just see continuation further towards the upside. If we miss this entry, then obviously we'll to see how far we are from this range high. If we get the risk reward, maybe we can get in on an entry on our way towards the upside. So different things to look at, but that's then how we react and not predict to what's going to happen. So I try to keep my head as clear as possible and open as possible to see the different um, scenarios that could play out, because you can really make it confusing for yourself. You can say, okay, there is a structure break towards the upside, and this is the down candle, and you refine it towards this area, and you can say, okay, but this is where I need to buy now. But that's not necessarily true. Definitely, we could see reaction around here, um, but yeah, that's not always the case. So definitely, we need to stick to what is the daily telling. What is the daily telling us? I do think that we could see reaction up, so I won't be surprised if we see reaction up from this area. But the key is that we need to keep in mind the session openings as well, 10 o'clock and 9 o'clock for Frankfurt Open, because those areas are high volatility areas, and then price could potentially make a whipsaw or stop you out, and so on. So let's, for argument's sake, say you take this as an entry. We could still see at Frankfurt Open or London Open price drop lower, grab this sell side liquidity, and then move higher. Then you are right on the direction, but um, poorly on the execution part. But that is what it is. So you need to make up your mind on how you want to approach this. I'm out of experience going to wait for the session openings to see what unfolds and the possible trade opportunities then presented to us. So let's have a quick look at EU. Okay, so here we have EU on the daily, and we can see the price. EU is really struggling against the dollar, and we're seeing this really strong push towards the downside. Just quickly note that price just came and retested. Yes, the day before's hello, so just keep that in mind. But what I just want to look at is to the left. Again, there's nothing clean or clear for me to react off of, because usually you would say, oh, this is where the structure break cause was, so this would be the order blocks. I'm sure there was a lot of losses, people trying to long from this area, and we can see prices now below this area. So we need to anticipate price also moving to previous daily lows for liquidity purposes. So I'm just going to mark this area down there. So price could still be running down for some bit. If we then look at the 1 hour, we can see how price managed to move up into this area, into this wick, reacted off this area, and seeing them move towards the downside, and they now just accumulating in this area, kind of creating like a triangle type of thing. If we look at the 50-minute, that is. If you look at the 50-minute, they pushed up. We reacted off of this imbalance over there. But actually just use the reacted off of the imbalance over there. So price is bearish. So I wouldn't expect price to go above this high. This would be my protected high. So looking for sells, looking at price in this vicinity, looking for where price could react off of. We're seeing this push down. Let's go to the 5-minute. Let's give a quick read on this. So here we have price reacting off of this sell area, this buy to sell area before the structure break towards the downside, which is over here. I'll just use that wick. Structure break below. We had a lot of liquidity generated in here, which is good. And now I would still have a look at this area as a possible run on liquidity before moving down lower. So that's just the one setup idea that I would have. I wouldn't expect price to go above this wick, and potentially then getting in as close as possible towards the upside, something like this. Then I would be targeting sell side liquidity below these lows, or even then this low ultimately. like this. But I'd like to take the body closes, then I'm safer. So this is then how it's set up. So I'm definitely expecting shorts, I think, following the higher time frame trade, moving lower. It's just now a matter of where to get into, because you could probably say, okay, but this is a structure break, so we want to get in over here. But I doubt it, because we still have a lot. We have a lot of trendline mitigations, liquidity over here, and this is a nice origin to the whole move. Or we could even see price tapping into this area, because this is now also a liquidity high. Price has not yet tapped in that area, so this is the other option. Potentially I would take a sell here, and if it's a loss, I'll just take another sell there. So I'm not afraid of taking a loss if I have built my story. So actually this looks good. Can just put the alert a bit lower, like that. So EU is actually looking nice compared to better than compared to GU. So that's an important high. We shouldn't be going above that high. Yeah. All right, guys. That is it from me this morning in terms of analysis and ideas, tradable ideas. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you agree with me, what do you think? What are you looking at? Yeah. Have a lovely day, and see you all next week.